REED-BBS, BBS. Inoue Entanglements. Inoue Entanglements. Because in any way, in every way, in a roundabout way, it's always about Inoue. My dude, my bruh, my Tomodachi, Naoya Inoue. John Riel Casimero versus Luis Nery. They fought in Japan, and as usual, Luis Nery missed weight. Imagine that. Nery infamously missed weight and pissed dirty for 2 fights with Shinsuke Yamanaka back in the day. So it surprised no one when Nery showed up to the weigh-in for Casimero, also in Japan. 3 pounds, 3 pounds over the contracted weight of 124. This is what Luis Nery does. Simple as. And as they received the ref's final instructions, center ring, Nery was taller, wider, and thicker, just significantly bigger overall than John Riel Casimero was. The Inoue entanglement, you ask? Well, Luis Nery was the first man to drop Naoya Inoue, even doing so on Japanese soil. So anytime you do something even slight, the slightest bit of success against a legend like Naoya Inoue, that's a certified feather in your cap. That shit matters. So with that, Luis Nery will always matter in some regard. John Riel Casimero has kept Inoue's name all up in his mouth for at least the past 3 years when Inoue moved on up George and Wheezy from 118 to 122. Perhaps even longer than that. He's always got something to say about Inoue. Anyways, John Riel Casimero has always been a poor man's Pacquiao, an orthodox Manny, if you will. And it took him about 30 seconds. He jumped right on Luis Nery from the opening bell, and within 30 seconds, Nery was already dropped by a left hook. It was a very Manny Pacquiao-esque flurry that Casimero jumped on Nery with, and again, it dropped him. Dropped him twice more in the very first round. Although the third knockdown, it seemed like Nery was flung to the canvas more so than knocked to the canvas. Casimero was taunting the living shit out of Nery. Every time he swung and hurt him, every time he dropped him, he was sticking his tongue out, taunting the living shit out of him. Meanwhile, every time Nery was on the canvas, the camera would somehow pan to like the back of his balding, receding head, and it just added to an overall picture of sadness. This slow old man getting his ass whooped, getting bounced off the canvas repeatedly. That's what the fight morphed into. Nery looking old, slow, and helpless, firing off very slow looping punches that Casimero was easily evading, just pulling back, laughing and shit. Kind of like the old footage of a young Cassius Clay against old dude swinging at him, and he's just pulling away, laughing like, you old pitiful motherfucker. You ain't gonna hit me. That was kind of the tone of it all. All told, there were 6 knockdowns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knockdowns. And Casimero just smiled at Nery like a starving man looking at a plate of food. He was salivating and whooping his ass. The 6th and final knockdown was courtesy of a big left hook, high to the head. Most of the shots were high to the head, including the final one in the 4th round, the 6th knockdown, high to the head. Nery fell on his back. He was still conscious, but he had a look of complete resignation written on his face, and the referee just waved the shit off. And we simply can't ignore the way John Riel Casimero beat Nery. There's beating a guy, and then there's the way you beat a guy. Stick a fork in Luis Nery. Henceforth, forthwith, and indubitably. You have to wonder how much his fight with Naoya Inoue 2 years ago may have taken out of him, because my man looks finished. Inoue entanglement. John Riel Casimero honestly hasn't done much since beating Guillermo Rigondeaux 5 years ago. He was all about Inoue, And we're responding, well, what have you done lately? I mean, we get it. Casimero's a former 3-weight world champion at 108, at 112, and at 118. But that was a while ago. What have you done lately? He was lacking a big win at 122 pounds. Well, now he's got it. Luis Nery equals a big win at 122. Granted, all signs seem to be pointing to Jesse Bam Rodriguez being the next opponent for Naoya Inoue. That's where the signs and the arrows seem to be pointing. Well, I have my own logic on why Bam could not, and more importantly, should not be Inoue's next opponent, in my opinion. And I will elaborate on that in my upcoming Bam-related video. Of course, he's got to fight his debut at 118 pounds coming up this coming weekend. And I'll do a pre-fight video on that where I'll elaborate further on the whole Bam-Inoue dynamic. My point is, don't rule out Riel Casimero as a stay-busy opponent of sorts as all the Bam Rodriguez versus Inoue shit works itself out. Maybe it isn't that next fight. Maybe that's 2 fights from now. Well, Inoue will need something to do in the interim. That could be Riel Casimero now that he's done something. Also, Bruce Shoo Carrington will be making the first defense of his featherweight title on the Abdullah Mason Joe Cortina undercard July the 4th. Inoue Entanglements, y'all. Inoue Entanglements. REED-BBS, BBS. Blackbird Sugar. Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. Television. Fred Sanford of the Fistic Arts. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.